and a happy go home Monday for you out there in the world. Welcome to WYKRadio.com, the podcast. Let's take a minute and step into Raw for this week. First off, before we get into that, I want to thank those of you who listened to the podcast over the last week. Had a nice first week of operation, over 100 downloads of the 3 podcasts, so thank you very much. Very much appreciated. That's a great way to get started, and I'm happy to have gotten involved in doing this, so thank you very much. I highly appreciate it. So again, let's take a look into Raw this week. Of course, a very interesting week, as it's the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw for Fastlane on Sunday, and then you've got SmackDown tomorrow, which will be the finalization of the number 1 contendership. We'll get into that tomorrow. Don't expect a whole lot out of tomorrow at this point, but from looking on Twitter, seems like WWE's got some things that they're going to try and put up against the first presidential speech to Congress. So good luck, guys, with that. I will be, of course, watching SmackDown. We'll catch up on the news later. So let's get into Raw. Let's just say that Raw was a set of bookends around a pile of horseshit this week. On a scale of 1 to 5, I don't know if you could get to negatives, but this would be a very much a negative number kind of episode, negative stars here in Dave Meltzer's world. Not a whole lot of good going on. In fact, very little, if any, good going on. First things first. If you were at tonight's Raw and you live in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area, you guys were dog shit. That completely terrible crowd. Gave nothing back. At the very beginning of the show, basically the cameras come on, we get a hello from Michael Cole, Goldberg's music hits, and we get nothing. And people will say the fans popped. They popped like, a bag of potato chips. Just, and that's it. Over. Just terrible. And it was that way all night. You had Seth Rollins come out, which we'll get into that later on as well. But you had him come out, and a group starts chanting for CM Punk in the middle of what's supposed to be this really dramatic moment in Seth's promo where he's talking about whether or not he could come back for WrestleMania. And that's not what we get. We get CM Punk. And the consensus is, Green Bay, you suck. Didn't like you before because of your football team. And now I got another reason not to like you. And you were given great spots tonight, and there was still nothing. So again, beginning of the show, Goldberg comes out, cuts a promo on Kevin Owens, promises he'll deliver. Then KO's music hits, comes out, and cuts a promo right back at Goldberg. Again, a great KO promo, coming into his own as a stand on your own heel. Really looking very good over the last 2 weeks. Really enjoying this side of KO that a lot of people are used to seeing. There's a call for a fight from Goldberg. Owens just like, sure, let's have a Green Bay street fight. And then he says, wait, and what was a great precursor to the night, he says, wait, Green Bay doesn't deserve to see him fight. They boo. He walks out. And that was exactly what they deserved. They didn't deserve to see Kevin Owens fight tonight. They didn't deserve to see anything that they got, which wasn't much. So Owens walks out. His music plays. And Goldberg must pose. So Goldberg poses. Go to commercial. Come back. And we get the New Day. I've loved the New Day almost from the beginning. from heels to faces, doing heel things as faces. They've been a lot of fun. The gimmick is stale, guys. We're not really enjoying it much anymore. Of course, they decided that it'd be the perfect time for them to talk about the Oscars flub and to recreate it, as they called the Shining Stars out to have a match with, and then they're given a different red envelope. They open it up, and inside, of course, Jinder Mahal and Rusev, not the Shining Stars. So the Shining Stars have a match later in the night, and then Rusev and Jinder Mahal come out. It was not well done. The folks at the Oscars did it better live, and I'm sorry, New Day, love you, terrible. And then it was the normal New Day versus whoever fight. Both sides look strong, but the New Day wins. And Rusev and Jinder are arguing afterwards. Not a lot to it, and you're going to get a lot of that tonight. Cut to commercial, come back. We have Enzo and Big Cass. Enzo's being nuts. He's just off the chain. Speaking of stale acts, but we'll get into that later. Then we have Cesaro and Sheamus having a discussion about their loss last week for number one contendership. Samoa Joe shows up, and he and Cesaro cut a promo. And that sets up their match later in the night. Then we get a Steph McMahon Mick Foley promo. Stephanie had called Mick in to apologize, and Mick said he was the one that needed to apologize, and she insisted. But it was really just a front to talk about how Foley was a shell of himself. He keeps getting more feeble, more pathetic, older every night that goes by. It was a few years back on this night that Triple H basically ended Foley's career, brought that up, and talks about how she doesn't think he even meets his own expectations anymore. Very well done promo by Stephanie. Second week in a row, she's had a great promo, but she's also had very few of them recently, which is a good thing. That's definitely helped out. And Mick played it very well, very close to the vest. You could see he was upset, but he kept it in. That will play out later, of course. Then we have another commercial break. We have Purple Ropes when we come back. Akira Tozawa and Noam Dar. Tozawa just makes relatively quick work of Noam Dar. Noam makes a few good moves, but Tozawa really does take care of him pretty easily. When we get to replays, then Brian Kendrick comes out. At the beginning of the match, he had a video package that showed his previous lessons that he had taught to Akira Tozawa. Showed both of those. And then after the match, when Tozawa wins, he's watching the replays. Cut back to the ring, show Tozawa, and Kendrick attacks him from behind. Picks up the mic and says that was lesson number 3. Back to commercial. Then we get another promo. This time, Foley and Samoa Joe. Joe walks up, asks him if he's having a nice day. Good wordplay there. He hasn't, and Foley talks about his frustrations. He talks about that he used to be a fan of Joe, but now all that Joe is Triple H's puppet. Joe, of course, says he's no one's puppet. He does whatever he wants. And then Foley puts him in a match against Cesaro that was alluded to earlier in those promos for later in the night. And then we get our women's match of the evening. It was a 4-woman tag match. We had Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, and Dana, who came out to the ring, and they talked on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And then, of course, after all that's over, Charlotte says, no, Dana's not my tag partner tonight. And out comes Nia Jax. She's not like most girls. Of course she's not. And it turned into a whole lot of a squash. They gave Bayley and Sasha some good points at the beginning, but Nia just absolutely destroys the two of them. To be honest, I didn't watch it a whole lot. Wasn't terribly interested in it because I felt like I'd seen it a few times because we have. Nia's finishing move was the old Hulk Hogan leg drop. Hooray. The sign of someone with no moves. Beautiful. So Nia and Charlotte win. Nia pinning Bayley. So in the last 2 weeks, we've had Sasha pinned and Nia pinned as we're heading into Fastlane. And, that's some foreshadowing as to what will happen, I would guess, although I don't see Bayley retaining the belt at Fastlane on Sunday. I would see if they're going to have Charlotte's streak end of pay-per-view wins. It'll be at WrestleMania, probably with the same 4 women that were in the match tonight, just this time in a fatal 4-way. I know last week I said a triple threat, but they seem intent on putting Nia into the mix for all of her limitations. So fatal 4-way it is. Either 3 or 4, it doesn't really matter. The only difference is if they put Nia in the match, everyone's going to think that Nia's just going to squash. I for one think you're going to get a fluke Bayley win, probably taking advantage of Sasha bank statement that she has to get out of, and Bayley will pin whomever she has in the bank statement, probably Charlotte, and that will lead to Sasha's heel turn on Bayley, probably on the Monday after WrestleMania. Anyway, cut back to backstage, and Foley is now backstage with Braun Strowman. Foley says no competition. He didn't want it anyway, apparently. All he wants is a contract signing. And we all know that contract signings in the WWE are very, very formal, well thought out, protected, business-like affairs. That's how every contract is always signed on WWE. So that's what he wants, so that Roman can't tuck his tail and run, as Braun says. Foley, of course, says he doesn't think that Roman's going to be the type that's going to tuck his tail and run. But if he wants to stand in the middle of the ring, sign a dotted line, sure. But don't blame Mick if it doesn't turn out. Braun says he wants it, or else. And walks away. Cut to commercial. Come back to Luke Gallows and Big Cass. To be honest, I didn't even watch this match. I could not have cared less. This was just another one of those filler matches, keeping the storyline warm for Sunday. Big Cass, of course, wins. But it was a nothing match. There was nothing in there. Speaking of nothing in there, Titus O'Neil versus Sheamus out of absolutely nowhere, apparently off of a Facebook Live stream earlier in the day. And this was my highlight of the evening. I was chatting back and forth on Twitter with a couple of other folks who do podcasts. And right at the end of the match, because it was really, really fast, and we were shocked at how fast it ended. In fact, I went back and timed it after it was over. It was that fast, so I jumped back, saw how much time it took, and we were shocked. What we found out was it was 18 seconds. Sheamus won over Titus O'Neil in 18 seconds. It was a great callback to Sheamus just absolutely destroying Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, which, depending on who you are, was either a great or terrible moment in WrestleMania history. Of course, I'm of the opinion it was a great moment because it really kicked off Daniel Bryan's face turn and led to his WrestleMania win down the road. But it was 18 seconds, bell to bell. Timed it out. It was, Titus attacked Sheamus right at the beginning. And by the way, it was the Missed Spots podcast. So they're located in South Florida. They podcast every Thursday. Check those guys out at missedspots.com. Shout out to those guys. It was a lot of fun interacting with them tonight during the show. Had to do something to keep ourselves entertained. So Titus attacks Sheamus before the bell. He backs off. Bell rings. Titus hits him again. Gets pushed off. Sheamus pops up. Bro kick. 1, 2, 3. Done. 18 seconds. It was what it needed to be, which was give Sheamus some work, let him still be a badass, because they had split them up for Cesaro to fight Samoa Joe later. Cut to break after that. We come back and we have Seth Rollins, who comes out down the ramp on one crutch with a knee brace on. But then I have questions beyond that as to how injured he actually is. Yes, his knee is hurt. Yes, it is. But when you're wearing incredibly tight jeans that would hurt like hell to get over a recently cleaned up knee, and you're walking with the crutch on the wrong side of your body, you really have to wonder, how much is he in pain? I don't really think it's that much. I think he's closer to back than not. They talk a story, and this is the point at which the Green Bay crowd decides, as they're sitting just stone silent during this Rollins promo, which is actually really pretty good. There's a lot of emotion in it. Did a nice job with it. That's when they started chanting for CM Punk. Yeah. Don't think they're going to be back on the Raw or SmackDown circuit for a little while after the performance tonight of the crowd in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I was really pretty convinced that they were storing the dead bodies from all the suicides after the Packers loss in the postseason this year. Since they were going to the Super Bowl and they lost, I'm pretty sure that's where all the dead bodies were stored, because there was nothing coming from that crowd 98% of the time. Anyway, Rollins says he doesn't know if he's going to be at WrestleMania. At that point, cue Triple H's music. And down he comes, and from absolutely out of nowhere, Samoa Joe's on the other side of the ring. I would assume he just came in the back way and hopped the rail. But it was just strange, because you never saw him until they showed Rollins standing in the ring, and Joe's just behind him on the floor outside the ring. Really, really strange entrance, just out of absolutely nowhere. So when Rollins said he wouldn't be at WrestleMania, and there was a light boo to that. The ones who were alive or awake reacted, which wasn't many of them. Triple H comes down, also cuts a solid performance on his part. And what he does is he warns Rollins directly, do not come to WrestleMania. Do not call me out, because it will be the last thing that you ever do in a WWE ring. And we all remember the promo where Rollins told Stephanie that he's got nothing left to lose, and he still has nothing left to lose. So Rollins reverses course and says, I will be at WrestleMania. And there's a cheer of some type. And if it's the last thing he ever does, then he swears it'll be the last thing that Triple H ever does as well. Drop the mic, face off. Rollins' music hits. Triple H and Joe backpedal up the ramp to commercial break. Then out come the shining stars from their earlier non-match of the evening. They were told that they had a 2-on-1 handicap against the Big Show. Show came out and showed up. Looked very good, much better than he's looked in years. He's looked great recently. If you follow him on Instagram or Twitter, you can see him post workout. The man is in shape. He is putting in the work right now. Really, really cool to look at. See a guy who's been around as long as he is. I was in the arena when he was introduced to the WWE, coming up through the ring during the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1999. If you haven't seen that match, he comes up through the ring in the cage match between Stone Cold and Mr. McMahon during St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 99. Great ending to that match, but that was the introduction of the Big Show, who at that point was the Giant on WCW, and he made the move over well before any of the rest of them did, from WCW to, at that time, WWF. But Show looked great. He looked as good tonight probably as he did many times back then. Then we get yet another purple match. So of course we have the requisite promos so that they can prepare the ring with the purple ropes, which really is just nice purple duct tape. There's videos floating around online if you haven't seen that before. It's quite interesting to see. They just duct tape the ropes and put down or replace the canvas on the mat where it's got the Cruiserweight logos on it. But it takes a little bit of time, so that's why you always will see a promo before the conversion is complete. So we see a promo between Tony Nese and Neville, who are tagging to go against Jack Gallagher and TJ Perkins, or as somebody, I can't remember who it was on Twitter tonight, referred to him as Space Aladdin. Thought that was really funny and perfectly well done for TJ Perkins. Space Aladdin, liked that a lot. It's the only thing I like about TJ Perkins now is Space Aladdin. Austin Aries is on mic again. They show the video package from SmackDown about Austin Aries coming back in wrestling, this time in the Cruiserweight division. And Austin, of course, coming back out of that, has great lines. I believe it was, "Cole, did you see my package? It was massive, wasn't it?" The man is outstanding in the ring, on the mic. He's one of the best in WWE right now, and he hadn't wrestled in months, but he is that good. So I hope he sticks around for a while. I really enjoy Austin Aries. He needs to be on commentary as much as possible when he's not in the ring. He's that good. So, didn't really watch much of that match either. Just wasn't interested, and that was the whole night. There was nothing, really nothing, aside from the opening promo, the Rollins promo, and then what happens at the end of the night to keep your interest. The show could have been an hour long, and it would have been perfectly fine. And that's been booking on Raw for the last few months. They don't need 3 hours. They need one. And everything else is filler. Which is really sad. They've got all the talent. They've got all the time. But they're doing nothing with either one. And a lot of that goes to the talent. One thing that doesn't get thrown around enough is that the talent is the one that's actually responsible for getting themselves over. Booking can help. Creative can help. Packages can help. Promos can help. But it's up to the talent if you're going to get over or not. And right now, there's very few people that are over on Raw. Very few people that are over on Raw. Jack Gallagher is over. He's great on the mic. Neville is over because he's playing a heel very well right now. Kevin Owens is over. Chris Jericho is over. They cut their own promos. They take their chances. The only other couple that are really over are Rollins, who's, again, good on the mic, great in the ring. And then you have Braun Strowman, who is just a force of fucking nature. The man is ridiculous. And you'll see it later on. The winner of the Cruiserweight match, not that anyone really gives a fuck, Gallagher and Perkins. Gallagher with just a fantastic submission. If you saw 205 Live last week, you saw the submission. It's excellent, an excellent submission move. It's got to be really carefully and particularly done. Otherwise, it could really, really hurt somebody. But it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see. Then after the match, we get the video package for the new WWE Hall of Fame inductee, Beth Phoenix. Of course, all the questions on Twitter were, Beth Phoenix is in, Chyna is not in. My response to that is, well, Beth Phoenix hasn't done a whole lot of porn, nor did she die from a drug overdose in the last year or so. So she moves up the list a little bit. My personal prediction is Chyna doesn't get in until 2020 at the earliest. There's got to be enough time that goes by that people forget that, she killed herself with drugs, basically. The WWE is going to want that to pass. When we come back from commercial, we get a promo between Sasha and Bayley as they're nursing their injuries from the earlier match. Stephanie walks out. Quick little promo from her. Same kind of subversive tactics, trying to get into Bayley's head. Sasha says she's going to be at ringside to support Bayley when she faces Charlotte for the title on Sunday. Stephanie said, I don't know that you will. You've got a match against Nia Jax. To which Sasha, you can tell, is just crestfallen by it. She plays it out very well. We'll see what happens in that match. I honestly don't think there's any reason that Sasha should win that match. They need to make Nia look strong, even though she's not. I think Nia definitely takes that win on Sunday. And oddly enough, we still have 2 segments left. At this point, it's like 9:30. And we have 2 segments left. And one of them is the match between Cesaro and Samoa Joe. There was a major kayfabe injury that occurs in this. Cesaro is dumped over the top rope, and Cesaro lets his foot slip off the apron, injuring his knee. He comes back in, and Joe just then takes control, go into a commercial break, come back. Joe's continuing. Cesaro is a fucking man, though. He suplexed Joe belly to back, and held him halfway up, not at the top, but halfway up. Holds him. Cesaro is a fucking beast. He is fucking ridiculous. He is a champ. I hate he's being booked the way he is. He's so good. And seeing he and Joe, of course, was every indie Ring of Honor fans' masturbatory fantasy. They haven't seen it in a long time. So there was some enjoyment for that. And it got a 2 commercial break treatment, which will make all those guys happy. Joe did a finisher, not the Muscle Buster, which I'm really thinking that's been banned at this point, because people keep getting hurt. So let's not do that for a while. Did it in NXT, but when you're up with the big boys, there's a lot more money on the table than in NXT. So I'm sure Vince has put the kibosh on that. Joe wins. He heads up the ramp. Is stopped by Charlie Caruso to do a quick interview, and he cuts a very good promo. At this point, he says it doesn't matter what you've accomplished, who you are, how much people love you, whether you're Cesaro, Sami Zayn, or Seth Rollins. When you come to the Destroyer, Sammy's music hits, comes in from the side the same way Joe did before, and they get into a brawl, and Sami Zayn is fucking insane. It goes down off the stage onto the floor, back up, and Joe throws Sammy back up onto the stage. They're being restrained by security, and Sammy comes flying off the stage, head over heels, to drop a leg on Joe's head, onto the floor, onto the fucking concrete. Sami Zayn is a crazy person. Although from everything I've read and heard about Sami Zayn, it makes perfect sense because he is a fucking crazy person. But that was the second highlight of the night, was that one move. Sammy flying off the stage, head over, they call it tits over ass, dropping a leg on Joe onto the concrete floor. Just fucking brutal. One segment left, which is contract signing between Braun and Roman. No reason for this to happen, except that it's a really good reason to see what we got, which was the highlight of the night. As you're coming back, Sammy and Joe are confirmed for Fastlane. That should be fun. Hopefully, Sammy gets to hold his own for a while before Joe squashes him in the end. But I digress. Cut back to the ring. Foley's in the ring. Has it set up for the contract signing. The requisite table, which did not get broken. But we did have a contract, which didn't really get signed either, but I'll digress from that. Mick is discussing some things. Braun's music hits and interrupts him. Braun says, "You got the table, you got the contract, I don't need you anymore, leave." Perfect heel promo on Foley, who's been getting a ration of shit all night. And Foley loses his fucking mind. Braun says, basically calls him pathetic and that he is a shell of himself. Just harping right back on what Stephanie was saying. And Foley loses his fucking mind. He steps to Braun, pushes the table out of the way, and steps to Braun and says, "If nothing else, you will respect me because I am a legend." And Braun laughs at him. To which Foley says, "You will either respect me or else," using Braun's line right back to him. Well done by Foley. We all know he can cut a promo, but pissed off, marginalized Foley has been doing some good promos when he gets the opportunity. They've been fun. So, Foley and Braun are standing, Braun's tits to Foley's face, and our favorite Samoan music hits. Although we could just say it's the Shield's music that hits, and out comes the boring guy. Comes down, Braun gets out of the ring, meets him, and they brawl. Reigns gets thrown into the ring post, sent over top of the barrier. They fight through the crowd. Reigns, with his use of nothing but his right hand per usual, as he's talentless. They fight their way through the crowd, along the production area, back down towards the ring. Braun has gone through the barrier, and Reigns just spears his way through the barrier, through Braun, through a security guard or cameraman that was there, and just destroys them both. Reigns goes up into the ring, he's going to sign the contract, and they cut to Braun, who's now standing up, and screams at him, "Is that all you've got?" Braun comes in the ring, Reigns hits him, again, the big right hand punch. He backs up into the corner, screams his full mouth yell to spear Braun. Braun catches him, both hands into his catcher's mitt vest, and then throws him into the turnbuckle at the far side, which he hits hard enough that the turnbuckle pops off right over Reigns' head. You got to go and see it. It's a great spot. Don't know how they designed it, but good on you, WWE. Great spot there. The fans gave us nothing, but the overall reaction was on Twitter was, "Holy shit, what the fuck was that?" And that's what it was. It comes out of absolutely nowhere. No one sees that coming, and it was great. Braun then marches his way up to the stage, looks back, and Reigns pulls himself up and signs the contract. Braun's music goes off, Reigns' music comes back on, and it's over. All in all, I think the title last week was 3 hours of my life that I feel stolen and I can't get back. I feel much the same this week. I don't know what's going on in the show running for Raw. Who's doing it and why? But I've come to the realization that the difference between Raw and SmackDown is that Raw is a show about a show that has wrestling, and SmackDown is a wrestling show. So one, you've got a show about a company that does wrestling, and the other, you have a wrestling show. That's the difference between the two. It's almost like they're really trying to feel out which way the fans want it to go. Do they want it to go the direction of just pure wrestling show, or do they want more of the backstage, the intrigue, the vignettes in the backgrounds, the promos, that stuff? And WWE, if you're listening, we want fucking wrestling. We want your sports entertainers to entertain us with sports. Not with talking, not with backstage bullshit. We don't care. We don't care. On a one-off, sure, it's fun. Why not? But as an all-the-time main driver of where we're heading, we don't want it. And, maybe it's just the smart fans, the marks, who are that way. Raw still draws more than SmackDown does. But when you consider that Raw is in a traditional spot on Monday night with 3-hour programming, and SmackDown just moved to Tuesday less than a year ago, went live, and is 2 hours, SmackDown is doing incredible business right now. That brand has almost become the A brand, with what many would consider more role players than Raw has. Raw has more stars. They have stars that have come in from all over the world. The cream of the crop from NXT over many iterations of NXT. But it's dog shit. It's garbage. And we're tired of looking at it. It's really easy to see when you interact with anyone who's a wrestling fan. SmackDown's quite the opposite. You interact with people who watch both, and 9 times out of 10, they have a distinct preference in SmackDown. And it's because it's a wrestling show. It has nothing to do with having better players on one or the other. I mean, there are better players one on another, but it balances out. It's really about the feel of the show. It's the fact that SmackDown runs around the wrestling. Even with Talking Smack, after 205. 205 is a wrestling show. It's still looking for an audience that hasn't found it yet. But right after, when you have Talking Smack, that is must watch for anyone who is a fan of what you see on SmackDown, because you're going to get something out of it every time. And, to be honest, we may actually get a co-host this week between Renee and AJ Styles, who joked that he wanted to do it, but he was left to do it for the final few seconds last week. And no one would think anything about it. They'd think it's great. They tried it with Raw, but they don't have the personalities with Raw. What do they call it? Raw Talk. I think it did 2 episodes and it was done. Fucking gone. Part of that is you have Renee, who's excellent at what she does. But she's also been doing it for a while. And when they put Charlie into that seat on Raw Talk, she hasn't been doing it long enough. She doesn't know how to drive things the way that they need to go for people to really get it and like it. which is fine. She'll come into that. But you also have a second host, which they rotate on Talking Smack between Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, both of whom have great personalities. And they know how to mix kayfabe and real life stories. They know how to speak to someone winning a title for the first time and let them have their natural emotional reaction to it, and then bring them back into kayfabe right after. It's just so well done, and that's the story of SmackDown in general. Is they've figured out how to mix the two really, really well, and we're fans. We like it, guys. Keep it up. We love seeing it. It's been great. But to me, that's really come out as the difference between the two shows. One is a show about a show, and one is wrestling. And the one about wrestling is the one that people are preferring right now. It also helps when you have, a booker like Arn Anderson who's booking the AJ Cena matches that have been so fucking good forever now. He's the one running that. He could run matches back in WCW, back in NWA, back at Crockett. He could do all of it then. And he's doing it so well now. It's just phenomenal what they're doing there. And even, with the exception of the Ziggler, Apollo Crews, Kalisto horseshit, everything else feels okay. The tag division needs a little work. And I honestly think that's just due to there's nobody that the fans have bought into since Rhino. That team, they had it. There was a natural storyline, and people bought it, and it was fun. There hadn't been anything really since there, but there's some good teams over there. It's just about booking them correctly and building them back up, because the tag team division there's just been torn down so much, versus on Raw hasn't been torn down as much, but it's not nearly. I honestly don't think it's as deep as it is on SmackDown. I think there's a whole lot more talent on SmackDown in the tag division than there is on Raw. In my opinion, I'm sure I'll be called an asshole, but that's fine. I don't care. And I'll be told I'm wrong. Again, I don't care. If you think I'm wrong, okay. If you think I'm wrong, shoot me an email. Hit me up on Twitter. Tell me I'm an asshole. Tell me why I'm an asshole. I'll be happy to address it. And if I'm an asshole, okay, cool, I'm an asshole. That's fine. I'm not like many of people in public life. I'm not in public life. Holy shit, I'm not in public life. But I'm not like people who will, say, "Oh yeah, I know how to take criticism." No, I do. I don't. If you think I'm an asshole, cool, whatever. I don't give a fuck. So anyway, that was Raw. I think I may go sit down and watch the second night of the New Japan that I missed, because it was 2 nights in a row of 3:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, trying to watch wrestling, and I just tapped out on the second day. So I think I'm going to go back and watch that. And maybe put out a special episode about what we saw in New Japan. Also, big news out today is that the Hardys have left Impact Wrestling. They are no longer members of Impact. That is interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen if they're going to just go on the indies for a while, which is very possible. They've been doing this Expedition of Gold angle. They're going to all the various continents and countries and trying to win tag team gold, and have been doing it. Been really fun to watch. That's the only thing fun to watch about Impact, TNA, whatever the fuck they want to call it these days. It's dog shit mostly. That's what it is. It's garbage, except for the Hardys, who've been excellent. It's so interesting to see what they're going to do over the next few months. We'll follow that if they happen to show up on your favorite program. I'll be happy to talk about it, because they are amazingly creative in what they're doing with the the Broken Matt and Brother Nero. It's been so good ever since the final deletion, which we all laughed at and then went back and watched and said, holy shit, this is fucking genius. This is fucking genius. What a novel concept. And the rest has been history. So anyway, rambling. Again, check out the website, wykradio.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, on Google Play, TuneIn. We're also on YouTube. You can subscribe to us there as well, WYK Radio on YouTube. Just visit the website. All the links are there. Also, our sponsors are there for you to peruse as well. Appreciate any support you're willing to give. And with that, I wish you all a fantastic day. And until tomorrow, when we'll get, well, you know. And that's the story of SmackDown in general, is they've figured out how to mix the two really, really well. And we're fans. We like it, guys. Keep it up. We love seeing it. It's been great. But to me, that's really come out as the difference between the two shows. One is a show about a show, and one is wrestling. And the one about wrestling is the one that people are preferring right now. It also helps when you have, a booker like Arn Anderson who's booking the AJ Cena matches that have been so fucking good forever now. He's the one running that. He could run matches back in WCW, back in NWA, back at Crockett. He could do all of it then. And he's doing it so well now. It's just phenomenal what they're doing there. And even, with the exception of the Ziggler, Apollo Crews, Kalisto horseshit, everything else feels okay. The tag division needs a little work. And I honestly think that's just due to there's nobody that the fans have bought into since Rhino. That team, they had it. There was a natural storyline. And people bought it. And it was fun. There hadn't been anything really since there. But there's some good teams over there. It's just about booking them correctly and building them back up. Because the tag team division there's just been torn down so much. Versus on Raw. Hadn't been torn down as much. But it's not nearly... I honestly don't think it's as deep as it is on SmackDown. I think there's a whole lot more talent on SmackDown in the tag division than there is on Raw. In my opinion... I'm sure I'll be called an asshole, but that's fine. I don't care. And I'll be told I'm wrong. Again, I don't care. If you think I'm wrong, okay. If you think I'm wrong, shoot me an email. Hit me up on Twitter. Tell me I'm an asshole. Tell me why I'm an asshole. I'll be happy to address it. And if I'm an asshole, okay, cool. I'm an asshole. That's fine. I'm not like many of people in public life. I'm not in public life. Holy shit, I'm not in public life. But I'm not like people who will, say, "Oh yeah, I know how to take criticism." No, I do. I don't. If you think I'm an asshole, cool. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. So anyway, that was Raw. I think I may go sit down and watch the second night of the New Japan that I missed because it was 2 nights in a row of 3:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, trying to watch wrestling, and I just tapped out on the second day. So I think I'm going to go back and watch that. And maybe put out a special episode about what we saw in New Japan. Also, big news out today is that the Hardys have left Impact Wrestling. They are no longer members of Impact. That is interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen if they're going to just go on the indies for a while, which is very possible. They've been doing this Expedition of Gold angle. They're going, to all the various continents and countries and trying to win tag team gold, and have been doing it. Been really fun to watch. It's the only thing fun to watch about Impact, TNA, whatever the fuck they want to call it these days. It's dog shit mostly. That's what it is. It's garbage, except for the Hardys, who've been excellent. It's so interesting to see what they're going to do over the next few months. We'll follow that. If they happen to show up on your favorite program, I'll be happy to talk about it, because they are amazingly creative in what they're doing with the Broken Matt and Brother Nero. It's been so good ever since the Final Deletion, which we all laughed at and then went back and watched and said, holy shit, this is fucking genius. This is fucking genius. What a novel concept. And the rest has been history. So anyway, rambling. Again, check out the website, wykradio.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, on Google Play, TuneIn. We're also on YouTube. You can subscribe to us there as well, WYK Radio on YouTube. Just visit the website. All the links are there. Also, our sponsors are there for you to peruse as well. Appreciate any support you're willing to give. And with that, I wish you all a fantastic day. And until tomorrow, when we'll get, well, you know. And with that, I wish you all a fantastic day. And until tomorrow, when we'll get, well, you know.